Hi, my name is Jim Wallert, and I'm the co-artistic director of Epic Theater Ensemble. In 2018, the members of Epic's youth ensemble Epic Next were commissioned by New York Appleseed to create a new touring play around the topic of educational segregation. The students began a research process, and one of the first things they learned was that New York City public schools are more segregated today than they were before Brown versus Board of Education, and New York State has the most segregated schools in the Union. The students continued their research by interviewing 40 different educational stakeholders. Those interviews were audio recorded, transcribed, and excerpts were woven together with original student writing to create the 30-minute touring play, Nothing About Us. Nothing About Us toured all over the country with 40 performances in more than a dozen cities for thousands of audience members. After every performance, the students facilitated a post-show conversation with members of the audience around questions and themes in the play. At the top of every interview, the students asked the same first question, which was,
what is the purpose of school?
Uh, it's a great question. I think uh, I think maybe a cynical voice in my mind might say that the purpose of school is to get folks to kind of maybe assimilate or conform to a certain set of norms or a set of behaviors that our society values.
The purpose of school? I'm trying to decide whether to be facetious or serious, but even my facetious answer is serious. I think schools currently are run as a way of warehousing troublesome younger members of the society.
Schooling, I think of as different from education. Schooling is like we take everybody's kids for 12 years and teach them, more or less, to act the same way. The purpose of schooling is a social control thing. The purpose of education is the opposite of that. It's freedom.
Okay, so I had a really rough childhood, and school for me was a refuge. School's a place that I could really, truly be myself. I really believe that the purpose of school should be to educate the hearts and minds of students and the adults engaged in the teaching process.
It's also to socialize our own community, so that we're not locked into our own family, our own building, our own block. We get to meet and interact with other people, other kids who we might not otherwise see.
Like democratic equity, like building a better democracy, building like a body of citizenry that is like literate and can like navigate the world. Social mobility, like I grew up poor and I was the first person in my family to go to college to get a bachelor's degree, let alone get a master's degree. So how do I like elevate my social like status, and how do I like not become poor for the rest of my life?
The purpose of schooling is to create people who are compassionate, people who have empathy, and people who are passionate about creating a just society and a just world.
The purpose of education is summed up in Plato's allegory of the cave. Long story short, it's this allegory about these cave dwellers who have been locked in a cave their entire lives. They've been chained to these chairs, which is supposed to represent ignorance and a lack of understanding. And one guy breaks free and he like climbs up into the real world and he's like blinded by this light, which is the truth. But eventually, he adjusts to it and goes back down and tries to tell the other cave dweller, no, there are real things out there in the world. And he acts like the teacher in this situation as he walks the other cave dwellers into the light and goes back and forth and tries to convert everyone. And I tell my kids the story because it helps reinforce the idea that the purpose of education is not for an adult to stand there and give you knowledge or wisdom, but to ask you questions, help you stumble upon or discover a deeper, more thorough understanding of the world and of yourselves.
School is a career as a young kid.
Segregation, huh? Why keep us all apart? You want us to learn together, so you shouldn't sort us out. Segregation, what? We all the same, so what? Just put us in together, we're the same no matter what.
And now, a town hall.
Thank you for coming out tonight for this meeting. As we try to address the segregation racially and economically in our schools, we have developed a proposal to change the high school admission criteria to take ELA and math exams and demographic factors such as socioeconomic status, home language, and home address into account.
Oh no. We know how this is gonna end.
Okay. This will help diversify your district schools to not only reflect the diversity of New York City, but to also help make equity a cornerstone of our educational system. This is a time to hear from parents, community members, and students so that we can hear your concerns and your ideas. Yes.
I have children in the district, and I'm concerned with this diversity plan that you're proposing. What about class sizes and the quality of special education for my child with the influx of those low-performing students?
What about the reputation of our school? The recognition of our high test scores and our kids getting into prestigious programs in high schools. We need to think about the donations from current and former parents. Have y'all thought about that? You should, because this will cause parents to move and our arts, music, and language programs to disappear.
Let's not be naive about the types of students that some schools will be receiving and the potential schools that our children are going to be forced to attend. It matters who's in the classroom. Why would I make the choice to put my children in an environment that I know will harm them?
We have two choices. Fight for the seats that they want to give away or move. I choose to fight.
What about us? All I hear is the children who look like me are being labeled as poor and underperforming.
No, I see your children were underperforming.
You just said they were underperforming.
No, I didn't.
Becky, you kind of did.
I did? Oh, damn. My bad.
Those white lips hit those white ears differently than ours do.
What is not being said about our children is that they're smart, creative, caring, and most importantly, a potential friend to your child. You all see our children as one way, while I see you all as one way too. People who just take. Tú tomas nuestros vecindarios y ahora quieres tomar nuestra oportunidad de nuestros hijos de por fin tener los recursos que todos tenemos derecho a tener.
We worked hard for these opportunities. It's not about taking, because we are not doing that. It's about earning what you worked for. We live in a meritocracy.
Can we stop beating around the bush? This is going to happen. That's the hard truth here. I'm a beneficiary of a desegregation program, and it provided me a chance to have quality teachers and proper resources to learn. But it was hard to be at a school that didn't want you. What I want to know is, what are principals going to do to help the transition for students coming into these new schools?
I respect what that last woman said, but my wife and I have worked and lived in under-resourced areas as educators, and I will add, as minorities in predominantly Black and Latino communities. I share that to say that I am not a racist. Some of you here think that this is a race issue, and I'll be the first to say that it is not. It is an education issue. Our children deserve the high-quality education that they earn through a test that everyone gets to take.
It's just the system.
Yes, the system. How am I going to prepare my children to attend these new integrated schools?
I don't know. How did you prepare your kids to attend segregated schools?
And now, beating around the bush.
White supremacy. I put my kid in a majority white school because I think it's a better educational opportunity. I just feel more comfortable.
I'm not racist. I just want my kids to be safe.
Standardized tests are used because we believe they give students a chance to achieve based on their own merit. Screen schools provide opportunities to pull students out of poverty. All our kids have an equal education.
I'm not racist. I have a lot of Black friends.
I'm not racist. I saw Black Panther 3 times. I'm not racist. I don't see color. I don't see color. My name is not Becky.
Becky! My name is not Becky! All lives matter! All lives matter!
White people. Hi. It's me, white supremacy. What? America is built on segregation. We separate students so that the best compete with the best. We need to stop this monstrosity people call the system, a racially biased system that privileges the white and the wealthy. This protocol is used because we believe that each set of persons can get their education individually based on their own merit. We have been separate but equal before Brown's versus Board of Education, before Plessis versus Ferguson. People of color don't really stand for America due to the shade that's being thrown at them. Land of the free, home of the brave, my ass! Diversity is important. God created us for this reason. All men are created equal. Thomas Jefferson. Slave owner.
Who benefits from educational segregation?
I think who benefits? I don't think anyone really benefits. Maybe the powers that be. The people who want to continue the status quo of oppression.
White people.
White people. And people with money.
Me. Upper middle class white people. Me.
I would like to just say it's white people. But it's not just white people who benefit all the time. All skin folk ain't your kinfolk. There may be people who are no longer first generation American who now have access to certain things. And they don't necessarily want a new wave of people to have the things that they got so they could be what they are. They benefit from the system as it stands.
Other people benefit from highly segregated schools because they're sort of the lucky ones that get plucked out of poverty and placed into like better life or whatever. And in some cases, I count myself as that. I grew up very poor, but the system is set up so that someone like me who displays certain talents as a kid could get plucked out of that and placed into a better situation.
Families and students who have access to are often known as the best schools. In order to have the best schools, you have to have other schools to compare them to. If everyone had a great school, then we wouldn't have that difference anymore. But it all comes down to the idea of scarcity. If I let go of something or I don't fight for that life, then there's not enough for everybody.
And now, the system.
Hello, we are the system. We are committed to providing excellent educational opportunities that are open, accessible, and welcoming to all city students.
Hi, my child has a nut allergy. What schools offer nut-free lunches?
Of course! Go to room 223. A worker will assist you.
Right?
Yes.
Hi, my child has a nut allergy. What schools offer nut-free lunches?
A pamphlet is available.
Go to room 22.7.
Right?
Yes.
Hi, my child has a nut allergy. What school offers nut-free lunches?
Of course! Your opinion matters. Go to room 2.3.
Right?
Yes.
The system sent me.
Get out!
What?
Get out while you can.
What do you mean?
Systems do exactly what they're designed to do. We're never helping our kids. That's just how it is. They lie. It lies.
My child has a nut allergy.
This is not.
I'm leaving. Schools are more segregated now than they were before Brown versus Board of Education. How did we get here?
The fitness current PACER test is a very efficient tool in testing students.
Answer the
Next question.
My child has an IEP. Where should I go?
Go to office 227. Someone will be with you soon.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
Can you please address the issue on segregation in New York City schools?
Please hold.
We are committed to ensuring that our programs, services, and activities are accessible to all. Each of our schools or programs will be labeled as fully accessible, partially accessible.
Hi, yes? Of course. Next question.
I think sometimes when you say the system has a life of its own, it's dangerous to say that because then you're absolving the people who are in the system and who make choices in the system from responsibility. And I don't want to do that.
How did we get here?
From the transatlantic slave trade onward, from the very establishment of the United States, segregation is a part of the fabric of the flag of this country. I can't believe I just said that. But when, in the history of America, did we not have to combat segregation?
Maybe after the civil rights movement in the 60s, when we started believing that the problems were being solved. Maybe we weren't critical enough in thinking that there were still problems.
People with power wanted to do something, so they invented things to justify doing that. Everything we think of as racism was justified one way or another. Taking someone's land, forcing them to do work for you, keeping them out of your neighborhoods, creating tests that only certain people will pass. It's all invented because you want something that consolidates your power and keeps you safe.
There are hundreds of years of history, hundreds of years of colonialism. In more recent times, people have been unwilling to talk about this history and unwilling to talk about segregation. People kind of want to flatten it out and talk about other things, and that prevents us from having meaningful change because people aren't recognizing the real problem.
The primary driver of segregation is white supremacy. Segregation is the child of white supremacy.
We have to look at the history of this country, and in doing so realize that the American dream was never supposed to be accessible to people of color, or to women, or to queer people. That ideal wasn't created for them, those people. That is why we call ourselves marginalized. Education is one of the very institutions that clearly demonstrates the marginalization of people who are not white wealthy men. So, how did we get here? Very intentionally, by actualizing the American ideal. This is the American dream. For the people who created it, this is what it is.
And now, white lips to white ears. Episode 1, Love Coffee Shop.
So there's like this really great school, and all I had to do was put my child's name, Timmy, in this lottery.
What do you mean you put Timmy's name in a lottery?
So like, I put his name in this lottery for a charter chance of greatness.
What is that?
A charter school, duh.
Why didn't you just sign him up in a public school?
Well,
do you have any idea what you're doing? You're basically putting your child's education in a lottery without thinking of the consequences of how it will work in the community or just grow in general. You're literally gambling with your child's future.
you have like no idea what you're talking about. I like know what's right for my child. Right, Dave?
Putting your child in the lottery is dumb.
You are absolutely right, Dave.
Episode 2, Falling Off a Cliff.
I'm like so excited we decided to go camping, you guys. Ooh, look, a cliff. Do you guys think I can make it to the other side?
Becky, don't even try it. You're literally committing suicide from doing that. You're my friend. I wouldn't want anything to happen to you. So please don't do it. You're not made out of rubber.
You like never support me in anything. Screw you. I can totally make it. Right, Dave?
You freaking die.
You're like so right, Dave. That was so dumb of me to think. Like, thank you, Dave. You like saved my like life.
Wow!
Episode 3.
I was camping with some friends. Me and my ex-partner, we were the only two people of color. I've been camping since I was a kid, and there's a lot of white people in camping spaces. So we're hanging around a campfire, we're having fun, and somehow we get to talking about white supremacy and racism. Okay, like for short, I probably brought it up. So I'm talking to one of my friends from graduate school. He's like on it, getting it. Another dude, he like gets it. We're all talking about this, we're all agreeing, and like this, Becky. I'm just gonna call her Becky. Like I could see visibly she was feeling attacked and feeling threatened and was challenging me. And I'm all for someone trying to check me on whatever I'm saying if it's problematic. But everything I was saying was very basic, like white privilege, power, nothing controversial, nothing about Becky individually. It was more about the structure that we live in. And she just felt attacked and white tears and all that good stuff. And so I tried being really kind, soft-spoken, empathetic, and she just wouldn't get it. Couldn't get it. And so then I gave up, like, all right, I lost. So then my buddy Zach and her brother, obviously white dudes, just like verbatim plagiarized me. And everything I said, and just said it to her. And I just had to stand there and just watch her get it. And at first, I was angry that I had to have a white spokesperson. But after reflecting back on it and talking with my buddy Zach, I learned something that day, and so did he. What he learned is that it's not my job to educate white America. He said it's not Matt's job to do that, it's mine. He learned that he has more power to do so. Now, why he has that power is a whiteness thing, and super problematic. But he said the work he's going to be doing is going after those people. And Matt's going to inform me how to best navigate those conversations, what to read, all that good stuff. And what I learned, and it's the most liberating thing that I've ever gotten, is that it ain't my job. My job is to work with Zach, the homie, but my job is not to convince Becky that she has white privilege. So now, whenever I'm talking to a random white person, I make sure that I have a white ally with me. Because those white lips hit those white ears differently than mine do.
What is integration?
There are the 5 R's of real integration. First, there's race and enrollment. How are students being enrolled in your public school? New York City public schools isolate many students of color and rely on racist and classist admission policies. We just want to reflect the diversity of the city. Second, resources. How are resources being allocated in your schools? Some schools receive a new textbook like every other year. Some schools haven't received a new textbook in like 20 years. Some schools have 20 sports, other schools have 0 sports. Then there's relationships. How do you interact with each other in the school building? In my school, there were a lot of hostile comments said in the hallways, and it was predominantly white teachers, and teachers would say something offensive, like they didn't know it was offensive to a student of color. They just were not made aware. So with relationships, you focus on building healthy and respectful relationships with everyone in the school building.
Then there's restorative justice. That's basically focusing on the fact that some kids are criminalized in their schools with metal detectors, with the fact that black and brown students are suspended the most. The last one is representation. When the DOE tried to diversify our schools, there was a mass firing of black teachers. Most of the teachers we have now are white teachers. I think it's really important for our students' identities and experiences to be reflected in the staff.
If we can implement the 5 R's of integration in our schools, that is a very big step in dismantling racism.
Honestly, the most important educational justice concern in New York City today isn't families sending their children to schools where most children look like them. Not even close. It is not the quest to get a few thousand more black and brown children into the handful of predominantly white and Asian schools. Those are all side issues.
My ideal school doesn't necessarily have to be diverse. Some of the best teaching experiences I had were not because, oh, this white kid's here and black kid's here and Latino kid's there, and everybody's so happy.
The greatest barriers to true equity is the severe under-resourcing, institutional neglect, and underestimation of New York City's predominantly black and brown schools.
There are a few schools in New York City, in the South Bronx, in Bed-Stuy, in parts of Harlem that's just doing their damn thing. It's not so necessarily about the race of students, it's just that some teachers have gotten together and partnered with community-based organizations to help support the kids.
Those who care about racial and socioeconomic justice and educational rights of black and brown children living in poverty should be deeply troubled by the rhetoric of integration.
When I hear a black parent say, I've put my kid in a majority white school because I think that's a better educational system. For a black or brown parent to say that to me, hurts my soul, because that means that they've internalized something about us and about themselves that is supposedly inferior, which I think is wrong. And this comes from a place of pain and traumatic experience, and just listening and honoring those things is how I approach these families of color, because I know I've had those internalized things.
So there's that cynical political argument that's okay, I know I want resource equity, but integration is how we're going to get there, through the back door. I think the truth is that resources absolutely matter, but integration matters for reasons beyond resources as well.
I think by spending time together is when you start to see the humanity in people who are different from you.
We will not reach the promised land by shuffling black and brown children away from their neighborhood schools to whiter schools, or vice versa.
I don't want you guys just to get white schools. That's insufficient for me. I want you to get Wakanda schools.
Integration, when it's done well, should get to the goals of resource equity, but gets to a vision that's much broader than that.
Do neighborhoods like Harlem, the South Bronx, and Brownsville require more white, upper middle class families in order for families who have lived in these communities for decades to enjoy a high quality of life and self-determination?
School integration actually has the power to push us to have a more integrated city overall, which can mean not only having integrated schools, but having conversations around what our housing policies look like, what patterns of gentrification means for folks in the city.
And now, dropping character and dropping knowledge.
Hi, I'm Chrissy, and I am a senior at Urban Assembly School for the Performing Arts. Is there value in hearing students in this conversation? Yes! We go through the bullshit, so you should. And not only the good kids, but everyone. Even the ones that are struggling in school. We all have voices.
Hi, my name's Esmerna. I am a senior at Urban Assembly School for the Performing Arts. And if you're telling me that the choices that you make to change school policies on segregation can affect my future and my learning, then you bet I want to be a part of that conversation.
Hi, my name is Haley. I just recently graduated from Urban Assembly School for the Performing Arts, and I will be attending Muhlenberg College in the fall. The students who are the ones who work closest with the system. We're the ones who have to go through the system on a daily basis, so we should be the ones who are used to help change the system.
I'm Roman. I recently graduated from Chelsea Career and Technical Education High School, and I will be attending Mohawk Valley Community College in the fall. Students go to school to get an education, but they also go to school to make change in their community. Students have every right for their voices to be heard.
Hello, my name is Marquise Evans. I'm a recent graduate of Urban Assembly School for the Performing Arts, and I will be attending Niagara County Community College in the fall. Us as students are looked down upon because of our age and also because we lack experience, but without us, there really wouldn't be a system at all.
And now, the finale.
We're doing this again!
Are we equal? No one knows. Even those who 2020 are too blind to see. The system we in goes in way, way deep, okay?
Yeah. Segregation, why keep us all apart? You want us to live together, so you shouldn't sort us out. Segregation, we all the same, so what? Just put us in together, we're the same no matter what.
Advancements and enhancements are designed for a purpose. Segregation at the heart of the beast, but we all know it. But if we all agree, then what's stopping us from stopping the quota? Same stuff that schools need.
Money.
We got a voice and yet we stay running. Find solutions that don't work, all because of the color of our skin.
Racist, racist. While we're chasing, don't adults have all the power? So why they messing up? Listen up. The system is fucked up. Schools look like jails and students be on cuffs. Segregation, why keep us all apart? You want us to work together, so you shouldn't sort us out. Segregation, what? We all the same, so what? Just put us in together, we're the same no matter what.
So are we equal? Ask yourselves. Victims to a system that we've been dealt. This is a racist country and we've invested in white supremacy. There's a chance for change, but will we take it? Are we equal? That's up for interpretation.
Equality, that's all we want. We have the right. Nothing about us without us is for us.